Good morning, everyone. I am Carol Williams with Williams Immigration, and we are back for another Monday morning edition of Beyond the Soundbite, where we talk about all things U.S. immigration. So, I like to dive right in. So, the first thing that I want to talk to you about this morning is denaturalization. That is the process whereby the U.S. government looks to take away citizenship that they had previously granted someone who had applied for U.S. citizenship. Um, Recently, last week, I think it was announced on Friday, that the Department of Justice has filed cases against 12 individuals unrelated to one another across the U.S. in district court to take away their citizenship or to denaturalize them. This is indeed a federal process. It is a Department of Justice process. This process happens in federal court. All 12 individuals will be given notice of this action against them. They will have an opportunity to defend themselves, but we have seen now 12 cases that were recently filed last week for denaturalization. All are alleged to have not been truthful during their citizenship application. I believe some of them were alleged to have not disclosed criminal backgrounds, things like that, during their citizenship application. So we will follow those cases and let you know if there's anything sort of big that jumps out at us that you should know about. But the process, there is a process to denaturalization. It doesn't just happen overnight. You don't just get a letter in the mail that says, poof, you're no longer a U.S. citizen. It is a process that happens via the Department of Justice, not USCIS. And it does happen in federal court. And there have not been, denaturalization is not something that those cases are not filed all day, every day in federal court. Typically, we see very few of those every year. So I'm bringing these 12 to your attention, but we'll see how many more we get, if any, but I did want to bring those to your attention and let you know that there is a process, and all of these individuals were alleged to have lied and not been truthful on their naturalization applications. The next thing I want to talk to y'all about is sort of new, but not really new. So Department of State recently announced that they are coordinating with the Department of Health and Human Services when it comes to U.S. citizens that are behind in paying their child support payments. And so why, you ask, would Department of State coordinate with Department of Health and Human Services on this particular issue, which on its face would seem like a state court issue? Well, and this is sort of pretty long-standing rule and policy that individuals that are a certain amount in arrears or behind on their child support payments, Department of State can coordinate with HHS to get the information about how much is owed on child support, and whether or not there is a payment plan in place, whether or not this individual has taken any steps to start paying down that amount. But the Department of State can revoke passports. And sort of the thought process behind that is that they didn't want people absconding outside of the United States, where they thought it would be even harder for them to get them to pay their back child support. So if you are a new U.S. citizen, meaning that you have been newly naturalized, this shouldn't be an issue because your child support obligation should have been analyzed when you applied for U.S. citizenship. But I mention this for a couple of reasons. One, if you're a new U.S. citizen, keep in mind that this is an ongoing child support is an ongoing obligation until the court system tells you that it is no longer an obligation. And if you get so far behind on your child support payments, the Department of State can work in concert with HHS to revoke your U.S. passport, and you'll have to go through a process to get your U.S. passport back after the child support back payments have been paid. And if you were born here and you're a U.S. citizen, it is something that you should know. oftentimes in divorce actions, this particular piece of child support doesn't particularly come up in conversation. So I felt like it was important to bring it up. So if you are $2,500 or more behind in child support, Department of State can coordinate with the Department of Health and Human Services in order to revoke your U.S. passport. So just keep that in mind. And the last thing I wanted to talk to you all about this morning is really a reminder. We are seeing biometric appointments being issued for non-immigrant visa petitions. I have seen them in my practice for extensions. So think your H's, your L's, your O1 extensions. We have seen biometrics asked for those. We have seen biometrics asked for I-140s before we even get to the adjustment of status filings. So we are seeing USCIS across the board collecting more biometric data at different points than we are used to in someone's immigration process. So keep that in mind. It doesn't necessarily mean that there is a problem. It just means that USCIS is in fact collecting more biographic data. If you are an individual that has a criminal background that your employer does not know about, it is super important that you work with an attorney who can help you sort through that process of your criminal background, because you want to be able to put yourself in the best light possible when you need to renew your especially your non-immigrant status. And it also will help you and your employer figure out moving forward, how do we move forward with a criminal background? How will that impact your non-immigrant extensions, your H's, your L's, your O's, again, your P's maybe, as well as any potential green card applications that you all as an employer-employee unit may have decided or talked about. So just keep that in mind that USCIS is in fact collecting more biometric data. So if you do have a criminal background, or you do have, let's say, child support in arrears, or you have a criminal background anywhere in the world, not just in the United States, it is super important that you get an immigration lawyer on board to help you with that. And that is all I have for this Monday morning. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the firm. We are happy to help, and that's what we're here for. So have a wonderful Monday morning, and a